What's up everyone, TJ here. Today we're taking a look at the Burton Ripcord in collaboration with Snowboard Mag. I'm gonna run through all the tech you're gonna find in this thing. I'm gonna share some feedback on how it feels out on snow. And I wanna give a thank you to the magazine for supporting the channel. If you wanna get your hands on it, it is available now. I'll have that linked down in the description below, so please make sure to check that out. Let's get into the video. All right, and for reference, before we jump into the tech, I'm 5'10", I weigh around 155 pounds, and I'm riding this snowboard in a 157. So the Ripcord is an all mountain focused snowboard on the Burton lineup, and it is gonna have a directional design to it. You're gonna get a slightly directional outline, so a little bit of a longer nose and tail outside the contact points, giving it a little bit more surface area up front if you take this thing in softer snow. You're also going to find a 25mm setback, so at the reference stance, the bindings are shifted a little bit closer to the tail, naturally keeping your weight a little bit further back, as well as 5mm of taper, so the tail is a little bit narrower than the nose of the snowboard, reducing the surface area in the back. And all those things are going to work together to give this board a little bit of a benefit if you take it in soft snow or out on a powder day. It runs their flat top camber profile, so this board is going to be flat through the main body of the snowboard with reverse camber out in the nose and tail as you get closer to the contact points to make it a little bit more forgiving and a little bit less catchy, as well as give you more leverage for leaning into presses and butters. You're also going to find what Burton calls their easy bevel. So outside the bindings, as you get closer to those contact points, you're going to find a little bit of 3D shaping going on where the base and edge is beveled up just a little bit, making the board more forgiving and less catchy. And of course, you're also going to find the channel system, so you'll have unlimited stance width options, going to be compatible with pretty much all major bindings. And this board runs an extruded base, so that's going to be less maintenance and it's going to hold up to at-home repairs a little bit better. And that's it for a quick tech breakdown. Let's jump into how this thing feels out on the mountain. All right, so for me at around 155 pounds riding this board in a 157, I found the flex to be just a little bit on the softer side of medium. It's got a pretty forgiving, manageable feel to it, but still gonna offer a decent amount of stability as you're out there cruising and exploring. This thing is not a noodle, but definitely gonna be one that's not gonna make it too difficult to learn the fundamentals on if that's what you're looking for. The flex is going to be a little bit directional, so you're going to get a little bit more power and stability out of the tail of the snowboard, but it's not something that I found to be super noticeable, and it's got a torsional flex to match. And as far as flat ground and butter type tricks go, this board's going to have a really smooth and comfortable feel to it. That reverse camber combined with the easy bevel make it a lot of fun for doing some butters out there and working on that kind of stuff. Can really lean into the nose or tail confidently. It doesn't feel catchy, and that reverse camber does help give a lot of leverage to help get taller presses and just make that progression a little bit easier. So if you do want to focus on that kind of stuff, this board is going to be a good time for that. And even though it doesn't have positive camber in the profile, it still comes through with a decent amount of energy. It's not going to be the poppiest snowboard on the Burton lineup, of course, but it's not dead by any means. It's going to offer a little bit of snap coming out of those butter tricks, and just has a good feel all around. You know, if you're trying to ollie rollers, ollie onto features in the park, whatever it might be, this board's still going to be there for you. And while it might not give everything you put into it back, it's still going to help give you a little extra boost, help get you in the air and have a good feel for that more freestyle progression as well. I also want to talk about the carving experience on the Ripcord. And first thing I want to call out is that flat to rocker profile. That flat top profile has a very predictable feel to it. That combined with the softer side of medium torsional flex and the reverse camber in the tips just really doesn't make you work hard to initiate those turns. So if you're using this board as maybe your first snowboard to learn the fundamentals, it's going to make figuring that out a little bit easier. And it actually isn't too bad for carving and exploring the mountain as well. It has a 7.9 meter side cut, so gonna feel comfortable as you get it up to those higher speeds, throwing you into a little bit more drawn out turns, and has some decent stability as well. This thing holds a pretty solid edge, although I will say it's not gonna be a high speed charger. As you start to push the board, you might find a little bit of chatter in there with that softer flex and the reverse camber. And as you're driving through a turn, and shifting your weight from front to back and getting more on that back foot. You can find the limits of this thing, so I would say a little bit more of a mellow cruiser, definitely gonna be a great one for figuring out the fundamentals, learning how to link those turns, and even progressing to a little bit of a more aggressive style as you start riding more technical, steeper runs. But definitely something that's gonna have the best feel at more moderate speeds and is gonna work as a great tool to get you up to those higher levels of riding and through those stages of progression. And I was able to spend a good amount of time in the park on the Ripcord as well, and it has a pretty solid all-around park feel to it. I think that flat camber profile has a great feel on the jibs for locking into those features, giving you a little bit more contact with the rail or box. The reverse camber in the nose really does help give you more leverage for presses and doesn't make you work too hard to get those taller presses. If you're working on those more technical tricks, it's not bad for spinning out of rail features as well with that softer torsional flex. And it's gonna be a pretty solid choice for jib progression, but still has the stability to hit larger features and work on some jump progression as well. As you do get into those higher impact scenarios, if you do land a little bit, tail heavy, you might find it to be a little bit washy, but overall, I think it's gonna be a solid choice for progression, especially on the more small to medium features. The one thing I want to note for park and freestyle riding, but particularly in the terrain park, is the directionality in the snowboard. That setback and the directional outline do give it a significantly longer nose, so just be aware of that. Make sure you're not clipping up on rail features or hooking up as you're coming off the jumps. The easy bevel is going to help with that a little bit for jumping, but for rails, you just want to be aware of that. It does ride switch very comfortably though, so that's not really going to be an issue in my opinion. Overall, I'd say the big theme with the Ripcord is going to be versatility and a friendly feel. So if you're just getting started off in snowboarding, looking to pick up your first snowboard, something that you can get through those early stages of progression with, whether that's learning your first turns, hitting your first tree run, or even starting to get in the park and work on freestyle progression, this is a board that's going to make all those things a little bit easier for you and really allow you to dial in your riding style before you get something that's more tailored to a specific type of riding. And if you're a more experienced rider, this could be a good choice as more of a jibby snowboard that still has some nice versatility to it and comes in at a great price. So if you're looking for something like that, consider the Burton Ripcord. I'm gonna have this one linked down in the description below if you wanna read more about it. If you've had a chance to ride this snowboard, let us know what you think about it down in the comments. You can leave any questions for me down there as well. Drop a like if you got some value. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here. I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for watching today, and I'll see you in a new review next time.